right, Crazy Hair Thomas. Good morning, everybody. We got a good night's sleep being at the dock here. We didn't have to worry about barges going by or anything. Beautiful, beautiful sunrise on the river. We got our seagulls. Where'd they go now? It's a little chilly though. It's 29 degrees right now, so whoo, we're fine though in our sleeping gear. Clip, I got my sleeping bag, my blanket, and that, so I've been good to go, no problem. Plan is today to make it down to Keokuk, maybe, or at least dam number 19. It's 30 miles away. Fort Madison is about 19, I believe. Yesterday and the day before I was off with my numbers. On my Navionics there's route and track, and I had it on track and it kept saying 2 miles, and that's how far I had traveled at the time of when I started it, not how much was left when I was looking at it and doing the video. And then I forgot to come back and correct myself for you guys, and then when I was watching the video this morning I saw I did it a couple times. So from where we were to dam number 18 was like 6 miles, and then from dam number 18 to Burlington is about another 6 or 7 miles. It's not just 2. So I thought I'd correct myself there. Yeah, that's the plan. So I'm gonna get up and get all my cold weather gear on, put on my long underwear and my face mask and all that. And we'll get up on deck and we'll keep on heading down. Fix this hair. All right, everybody, we're back in the cabin salon, and we're getting all ready. It is 39.3 miles exactly to Lock and Dam number 19. This is the second longest pool on the Mississippi between the locks compared to Lake Pepin, which I believe is the biggest. Terrence, when I met him yesterday, the guy from Mississippi River Angels that brought me to town to get fuel and my fuel filter and all that, he's amazing. He knows a lot of history of the river and all the names and everything, so it was kind of cool to learn. He knew like each pool and all that, and I guess apparently they all have different names, and on Facebook each pool has like a group, and then people do stuff in it as well. So good to know. I'm going to try to get in some of them groups for the pools farther down, just in case we have fuel problems anymore. I guess you can't really see. Hold on, let me clear the window. Good morning, everybody. So we are back in the cockpit salon, haha, and it is 39.3 miles to the next Lock and Dam 19, a little past Keokuk. So instead of just guessing, that's the exact mileage. And this is the second longest pool of the Mississippi between the locks and dams after Lake Pepin. Terrence, the guy from Mississippi River Angels yesterday that met us and brought us into town for fuel and everything, he was really knowledgeable and he knew all about the river. Each pool, they all have different names apparently. I didn't realize. I just thought, like Lake Pepin I know, and then I just thought they were kind of called pools, and then some of them had names, but he said every one of them has a name, and on Facebook there's a group for each pool. So I'm going to try to get into that so that downriver, if we have any more problems with getting gas or anything, we don't have to worry as much. It's kind of really cool that all the people out there that are helpful and supportive. In this day and age, there's not very much interaction with people other than, you know, your small circle and acquaintances, and a lot of people are shady. So it's kind of cool to see there are some good people out there. So thank you to everybody that's helped me out so far, and that is going to help me in the future. Over here you can see on the piling over there, that's where the water level would normally be. So it's probably down 3 or 4 feet, probably 4 feet. That comes up to a little below my shoulder, and I'm 6 feet tall. So I was looking online last night, and like on all the news articles, you know, the news always makes things seem worse. And I guess apparently in 1988, it was actually about this low before, or lower. Right now we're at -8 point something. on like the water level thing, and it was at negative 10.2 in 1988. But they were saying in the last month it went from 6.4 to that 8.2, and if it keeps up, they'll definitely beat the record. So just got to keep that in mind. And that when you see on the news and you read all these articles about historic water levels low in the Mississippi, that it is not actually the lowest it's ever been. It's actually been lower before. Hopefully we don't end up smashing that record by some crazy amount or anything, but it's looking like it. It's definitely looking like it, because there's not a lot of rain planned in the forecast or anything. So that is that. We'll deal with that, but we'll make it through. We'll make it through. We got this. I've been looking up Joshua Slocum. He's pretty cool. He's the first person to have ever single-handed around the world in the spray. And that had to have been crazy, because I have my cell phone, which is like my tricorder, and I can contact people, look up stuff, weather, all that, charts, and I have a depth sounder. He had none of that. He just had himself and nature, and that's pretty amazing that he was able to do that. It's kind of sad though, he did die at sea, and I was reading the newest theory is back then they didn't have any lights or, you know, AIS or any of that stuff, and there's a theory that he actually got taken out by a steamship, which was kind of really ironic because he loved to sail, and the new steamships that were replacing everything he hated. And I guess that's just kind of like my love for the sailboat, and then how I disdain power boats because of the wake and stuff. I can see the similarities, and then it's sad that that's what actually took him out. So, but he's a pretty cool guy. He's got some really cool quotes and stuff. So if you guys get a chance, definitely check out Joshua Slocum. Pretty cool guy. So I'm gonna go get up on deck and get everything ready. We'll start to warm up the motor, and then we'll start heading on down river. All right, everybody. They're saying goodbye to the Burlington City Dock. You were nice to us. That guy's going out fishing this morning. He said, have a good trip. And I said, have a good luck fishing. And have good luck fishing. I hope you catch some. We'll swing around here too slow. He keep telling me I pan too quickly. There's the bridge in Burlington. Let me turn around and get a better shot. There's Burlington. And then here's the rail bridge that we're going to go under. It's got 18 feet of clearance, so we'll be good to go. I was tempted to have ask that parent to help me put the mast up here, just because of the situation with gas and everything, but it's only like 200 something miles to Alton, so I think I can make that. I think I can make it. We'll be fine. So onward we press on down river. We're gonna go underneath the railroad bridge here. Should be good to go. I've been listening to the radio all day, and they said they had 18 feet of clearance. We need 12. Should be good to go. That was one part that kind of sucked about being in Burlington back there. Is you're right between this lift bridge and all the you're right by this, between this lift bridge and the vehicle bridge. So you have the noise of the vehicle bridge, the noise of the train, and then this is a drawbridge, so you end up having the radio go off all night if barges are asking for it to open. And then there was one or two pleasure boats that requested clearance, but they never had to open it. So there we go. If anybody knows, I've always kind of been wondering why the train bridges are so much lower. I don't know if it was because they were built for, sorry, I didn't check my chart plotter there. If they were built longer, and so they haven't been rebuilt compared to the vehicle bridges. or if it has to do with weight. Like there's so much weight and you can't do anything about it. I actually have another pleasure boater. It popped up on the AIS, and I was kind of wondering what it would look like or what he was. Looks like that's what it is. I don't know what they're doing. Chilling for the night, I guess. That's one of the first other pleasure boats that I've seen that actually has that AIS thing on it, so that was kind of cool. It's funny, on the AIS and with everything, so we're all rec boats, recreational boaters if we're not commercial, but they split up the sailing vessels and power boats, and they call the power boats pleasure craft, and sailboat sailing vessel. So when it pops up, and like when you do the radio, you say sailing vessel, and like power boats, they say pleasure craft. When I've been doing all my research on radio, it says, the whole point of marine radio is not really to talk, it's to convey information. You can talk too, on the pleasure channel. But when you're talking to other boats for reasons of passing or trying to figure out what's going on, you want to try to convey as much information as you can in what you say and as little words as you can. So like when you radio somebody, if you're just like pleasure craft calling, and then you say the name of the barge or this or that, they're looking out going, which one? Or they think of powerboat, so they don't know what you're doing. So what you want to do is convey as much as you can in that first little thing as you can. So I like to say, like when I call the locks and dams, I'll go, sailing vessel, mellow miles, heading southbound, hailing lock and dam number, whatever. And so that way, in their mind, they hear the name of my boat, so they know who to respond to. Because if there's a few boats out there, like parked in front of the dam, or the lock and dam, or if there's people out there fishing that aren't going to go through, they don't know. They just know the radio call, and they can't see the name of your boat either. So when I say sailing vessel, they then know, hey, I'm the sailboat. Most of the time, I'm the only one around, so that helps. And then, you say you're traveling southbound, so they know which way to look, and they know which way you're going. And then you also say the name of your boat, so when they respond, they can then hail you, and instead of just sailing, saying pleasure craft or sailing vessel, they can say coming back to mellow miles, and then blah, 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 blah. And then you know that they're talking to you and not another person. And then it just kind of helps. So it's good to do as much as you can in there. I know when I was going through one of the locks and dams back there in Iowa, the guy got mad at me. Like, we don't need to hear sailing vessel, mellow miles, blah, 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 blah. We don't care what the name of your boat is. You're a wreck boat. You're just out here. We're here for the barges, which I thought was interesting because the locks and dams are owned by the American people and maintained by tax dollars for the American people. And like when you look them up, they're like, we are here for everybody. But I understand commercial first, because that's the lifeblood of our country. And if we don't have an economy or any of that stuff, we don't have a country. So we got to keep that going. So totally understandable. But from the lock and dam operators up farther, from what I had learned and talking to them, they liked it when I would say my name and the sailing vessel and that, because the exact reasons I was just stating. If there's 2 or 3 boats parked up in front of the lock and dam, and you call and you want to, you're saying, hey, wreck boat north of you, can I get through? They have no idea where you are, or you're 5 miles away if you're one of the ones right there wanting to get through then. And then when they call back, they go, wreck boat. There's 10 other wreck boats out there. How do you know who they're talking to? You're talking to them or trying to talk to them, so you would hope it's you. But I have had it where I've called and they've said they didn't respond sailing vessel, and they said wreck boat. And then another boat would call back to the dam, not me. They're like, what would you like? I'm like, so it just makes confusion. So I found in my research and everything is that
You want to try to convey as much information as you can in that first little message as you can. So it is good to say, you know, what type of boat you are, what your vessel name is, what your intention is, and who you're hailing first, and then what your intention is. But since we're doing the locks and dams, I say, you know, southbound, and then hailing lock and dam. Whereas, like, if you were out on the ocean calling a cargo ship or another boat, you would just kind of say, like, sailing vessel, mellow miles, hailing, cargo ship, blah, 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 blah. If we have AIS, we know their name. On your port bow, looking to pass, and I don't want to be in your way or anything. Which way would you like me to pass? And then they would respond, you know, blah, 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 blah. Coming back to mellow miles, I would like you to do this, 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 or this. Bam, easy, you know, not a whole bunch of extra chatter or questions or room for gray areas and interpretation. It's just, that's what it is, that's what you do, bam. So, it's my little morning Blab session on marine radio for you guys. I've noticed on my videos in the morning, I get real talkative. I don't know if that's because I've been sitting all night, sleeping, or sitting in the cabin, and then I got all these things in my mind that I'm thinking about, and then the next morning I start videoing, so it all comes out. I was talking to Larry and Daryl about the Dodger, and the Traveler setup we have is not going to work with the Dodger. So what we're thinking is we're going to end up getting one of those Travelers that sits on the top of the cabin just in front of the Dodger, and then that way I would be able to run the ropes. I can get rid of these cleats that are right here. Right now we don't really use them for anything, they're just there. The previous owner had it where he would just run the main halyard down to the bottom of the mast in a block and then run it across the cabin top to right there. We didn't have any deck organizers, so I've just never really used them. So we can get rid of those, and that wouldn't be an issue. And then we can put a winch there, because I do have my 2 spare winches with me as well from when I replaced the cockpit winches back here for the Genoa with the SelfTaylors. SelfTaylors, they have this thing on the top that holds the rope, so then you don't have to hold the rope with one hand and then do the winch handle with the other and try to prevent it from tangling up on itself. With this, it goes around the winch, comes up in here, and then tails off, and all you have to do is the handle, and then the rope will just tail. It's really cool. It made a huge improvement over the stock winches, because the stock winches were size 7. These are size 14, so it's double the amount of power. Before, when you had some good winds and you had that full Genoa up, it could be a bit tricky with the winches sometimes. I don't know if it was overpowering them or what. It was difficult. They might have been old winches too. But now with these 14s, it's like nothing. And with the SelfTaylor, really easy, because when we put up the mast, we did it this last spring, as we do the A-frame and then 2 fiddle blocks, and then you run the rope back here to the winch. And before, without the SelfTaylor, you know, if you let it go, the rope would go woo. It would just, well, it would have tension, but it didn't work as well. And now with the SelfTaylor, you just pop it in there. It's so much more powerful. You just whoop. And then we had somebody up in the middle while I did the winch to make sure it didn't go left or right. But with the upper shrouds slightly loose, you know, it really wouldn't have. I'm sure with the A-frame and everything, it would have worked by myself, because the previous owner, that's what he did, and it was made for that. But I've always just done 2 people to be safe. Like when we get to Alton, I'm probably going to have, there is some guy from the local paper that wants to come out and do an interview about the Great Loop and stuff, and he said he can help me. And then I have 2 Masonic brothers that said they can help me, and then there was another person from the Mississippi River Angels group. So I'm going to have lots of help in Alton for the mask. That's really not an issue whatsoever. Just got to get there without running out of gas. So I I should be good. I believe it's about 150 miles or so to Alton. And then we can't get into their gas dock, but they do have like a public dock. And I should be able to go to that. Or across the river, there's, what was it called now? I can't remember offhand. It was Cape Charles, I believe. And they have a nice marina. And maybe I was thinking, that one they said I could probably get into. So I've been calling. Like, the thing was, 2 days ago when I called Burlington. I called Fort Madison. Burlington, their marina, too shallow. Fort Madison, they're under construction, so they don't even have a fuel dock, but they do have a marina, but it's real shallow. Cook, I believe, was the next one, and they had some issue with their dock, and then it was, I believe, Cape Charles, and I'm like, uh-oh, nobody, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody in Cape Charles, and then Alton, I forget what it was in Alton, something was in Alton where I couldn't get gas. I called them, and they're like, I don't remember what it was, but there was something. So 2 days ago in the morning and the afternoon before anchor, I'm going, oh boy. I went aground the day before. Now I can't find any gas. What is going on? Like Bree calls me Mr. Worst Case Scenario. Life is tending to keep that up, which can be a little, it's draining to always have like worst case scenarios happen, but after having it happen all the time, I've kind of just got used to it, and you push on, perseverance, and just push on. Nothing you can do. Like Ernest Hemingway says, difficulties are only things to overcome after all, and that's life, and that's the fun of life, and the joy of life is overcoming hardships and things that would hold a lot of people back, and then when you get to do it and accomplish that, it's like one of the greatest feelings in the world to finish a task that you set out to do, like a goal or a dream or whatnot in life. It's just like it's a natural high. I don't drink and I don't do drugs and all that, but I guess my natural high that I found in life now is just, accomplishing tasks that the average person would hold. And I don't try to seek them out, but it just happens. Here's a little example of how low the water level is. That should be a floating dock. There's up about another 5 feet. Anyway, but this morning I'm feeling a lot better. Last night I was kind of feeling like I was getting a cold too, so I was laying in bed, just kind of like, what am I gonna do? Get this gas, this is gonna be difficult, but we're gonna make it. And I was watching, looking at pictures on the Mississippi River, there's like steamships down south on the sandbars and stuff. And then instead of giving up, I just said, we got this. And I was looking, and it actually looks like a lot of the pictures are off of side channels and stuff. And just like the news, when you have a guy out doing the weather, and he's like, it's a hurricane out here, and he'll be standing in like water up to his knees or something, and they'll pan the camera away, and he's standing in like a little pond with a fan on, or for wind or something. But the river is like that, because there's the main channel, but then there's all the little offshoots and all that stuff, and that's where a lot of the pictures are, or way up on shore where you wouldn't normally be anyway, or way up closer to shore where the barges wouldn't even run normally. So, it's just kind of interesting how people try to change things for perspective. I'll edit in this video today some pictures that I have on the Mississippi River cruise, and I'll show you how low the river really is. And that'll be cool to look back on in like 30, 40 years if I still have these videos to see. Because hopefully in 30, 40 years this will never be a problem again because of having this happen. I'm hoping the Army Corps of Engineers will figure out some system to prevent this in the future. But you never know. Like I was saying this morning, 1988 was the actual record low, and I would think even then they would have figured it out. In the groups, it was funny. They were saying when that happened in 1988, there were like stories about how it's going to take 20, 30 years to refill the river and all that. And like a couple years later, it was like record highs and flooding. So people don't know what it's going to do. Nature is nature. It does what it's going to do regardless of what we do as people. I know I watched some of the Ukrainian war video reports and stuff, and it always is fascinating to me in battle how much nature doesn't care. Like you'll have a firefight, so bam, you know, all the noise, it's just insane how loud it gets. And all of a sudden there'll be a little lull for like a minute or two, and you'll just hear the birds chirping and the sun not coming out. It's like this beautiful, surreal moment. It's just crazy, but nature don't care about people. We're just here to, for us to try to adapt to nature. Nature isn't here for, to adapt to us at all. It's always interesting the perspective of that, and how that is, and how people are, how they think, you know, nature is supposed to go to our whim, but it's us who have to go to its whim. It's like the people that jump in the polar bear enclosures at the zoo, and they're like, "Hug me, polar bear, I love you," and the polar bear goes, "I'm a polar bear, you look tasty," and then they get bit. That polar bear don't care. That polar bear is a polar bear. It sees a big meat bag sandwich. Anyway, so we push on. It'll be cool to see, even if we don't get the Dodger from Larry and Daryl. Just kind of the process of thinking it all out is kind of fun and all that. And then for in the future, other Catalina members that would want one or whatnot. Because right now there's no real options to get a Dodger for a Catalina 25. So, Larry and Daryl, you can do it, man. We need you in the Catalina 25 community to help us out. I know coming from the motorcycle community and like how people always customize their bikes and stuff, it's always kind of cool when you have to, you know, with the internet, it's made it a lot easier, but back in the day, you know, you had to try to search out different companies, trade journals, all that stuff, and each person had their own little individual things, and then it was always really cool when you would find a company that did a bunch of stuff that you didn't really know about, and then you would, you know, share that with all your friends and everything, and like your little group of motorcycle community in your area, and you know, it would better everybody's bikes and stuff, and help everybody out. And so coming from that and going to sailboats, I'm thinking, Larry and Daryl, you're our cool little hookup for Dodgers and that in the Catalina 25 community, because there is nobody else out there that does that, and it would make a tremendous contribution. Trying to get to the countryside here. It'd make a tremendous contribution to the Catalina 25 community. These are amazing boats, and not everybody has the money to buy a brand new sailboat. They're expensive, it's a lot of upkeep, but a lot of people can afford an older sailboat and fix it up a little, which in my opinion is the best way, because then you learn your boat, you know where to, you know, what to reinforce, not reinforce, you know her strengths or weaknesses, and then you also learn the ability to maintain her. So I know when I was reading about Joshua Slocum, S-L-O-C-U-M, and the spray, it was a real bad condition ship, and he had went through a whole bunch of crazy hardships in life, and some guy was just like, "I'll give you a boat," and he went and saw it, you know, it was cool, and he fixed it up. And that would have been crazy back then because it was all wood, so you would have to build like a steam box to put the planks in so you could bend them. And, it would have been pretty, you know, if you had never done that, doesn't have to do it. It would have been pretty interesting back then. There was no YouTube to look up how to do stuff. You just had to do it. So it always amazes me about, like, back in the day, people's abilities to do things when they didn't have computers, calculators, you know, nothing. They're just out in nature. Made it work. You know, and that's a tree. We're gonna turn that, or that's a, you know, a group of trees. We're gonna turn that into a ship. You know, it's just amazing the things that the human species has done. You know, like we have hopes and dreams, and then we turn them into fine machines. Some Dr. Seuss action there for you. But it's just really cool. So, hopes and dreams and all that. Dodgers or Catalina 25s, you know, they're not out there. And everybody always wishes they had one, but they don't have the money to spend, you know, $15,000 to have a custom one made, and each person to get a custom one made. But, you know, if we had a template and a pattern and a thing like that, I think they could get it down a lot cheaper. I have no idea what the cost would be. I'll have to talk to Larry and Daryl more, because I know Sunbrella can be spendy. I think he was saying he doesn't use Sunbrella because it's not as durable. He uses something else that was more durable. Really cool. Just like I was saying, even if we don't get it put on or anything, it's really cool just talking technical stuff with Larry and his buddy Daryl. You know, just thinking about, you know, fantasizing in your head of what it would be or whatever. It's like when you're a kid, I don't know if kids these days would know this, but when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. So around Christmas time, you would get like all the toy catalogs, you could flip through there, and then in your mind, you would be like, oh, this would be so cool, this would be so cool. So this is like my version of a toy catalog for a Catalina 25, is talking to Larry and Daryl about what could be, and cool, making it happen. Because a lot of times as a kid, you look through that toy catalog and you don't get anything. You don't get, you don't get what's in the toy catalog or much of it. You get a few things, you know. But you know, as a kid, you want the whole toy store. So it'd be cool as an adult to have that, you know, yay, this would be amazing, and then to have it happen. It would just be cool. And for Larry and Daryl to donate their time to making it, I would just have to pay for the material. That is just the coolest thing ever. And it's some things that, sorry, I mean, hit my nose on camera. It's some of those things, you know, in life. Like I was saying this morning, there's a lot of people out there that are just shady people. Everybody's out for themselves. Even people that, you know, pretend to be helping you. They're just trying to get something for it from you. And you're like, be nice to you so we can get something. And it's really cool this trip so far to reinvigorate oneself towards people, I guess. Because I was a very antisocial person on the homestead movement, because people are just shady. They always want to try to get something from you. And on the homestead, I had my stuff together. We had our house, food, we had everything good. We don't need anybody coming to try to mess this up or trying to freeload off of us. And there's a lot of freeload off of you. And I just avoided people. But now, being in this situation with the low water level and everything, you know, you're forced to depend on people that you've never met in your life, ever, and will have never met someone on a trip like this. And it's really cool to know that you can, and there are people out there that, I know the Masonic Brotherhood, that helps out, you know, we have an oath and we'll help each other out, so I wasn't as worried about that, but it was still really cool that Ray came and helped me out. But like the Mississippi River Angels, the parents back there in Burlington, you know, he doesn't have to do that. He can do anything better with his time, but he wants to genuinely help people out on the river that are in need. And that's just really cool to see that there are still people out there that, you know, they don't want to. I offered him gas money. They didn't want any gas money. He didn't want anything. He just wanted to help. And that was cool. So thank you very much, Karen. And then all barge people that captains that I've talked to. City of Nashville, you've been super helpful. You've been answering my questions in my videos, which is amazing. And I'm able to pass that information on to other people. Weir dikes are what those walls are that I almost hit the other morning. City of Nashville, I told him about it, and he wrote me back. He said, no, dams are what are at the locks, and those things that are under the water on the sides, they're not called dams. I must have just been confused. It was real late at night, and with the wind and the rain and the barge, like right there with the cooperative ambassador. I looked it up on marine traffic, so it's not proof ambassador. So I just must have got the term confused, but they're called weir dikes. And then there was, I'll have to look on my text back with them. There's two different ones. There's a weir dike and a something else dike. One's smaller and one is taller that you can't go over. And it's interesting that on Navonics, they don't really show that. You know, they show the channel markers, and I've seen a few times where they would have a black line on the side. And, but I don't know exactly if that's what those are or what it was, but they should have them all on there. That would suck to be going over something and then end up having where you end up crashing. It says City of Dubuque, Corps of Engineers, U.S. Army. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen one of those yet. I wonder what they're out here doing, if they're checking the water levels and keeping us safe. That makes me happy to know that they're out here. That's a pretty cool little boat too, fully enclosed. Looks like they got air conditioning up there. And yeah, that's a cool little boat. Thank you, Army Corps Engineers, for keeping this going and keeping us safe. Guessing I'll see some more of them. So, I forgot what I was saying now, but just that people are cool. It's cool, not people are cool. There's a lot of bad people out there. Oh, we gotta hit the weight here. Hold on. Ugh. There we go. Sorry about that. I should have turned into it sooner. I wasn't thinking. I was talking and sudden the boat went, woo! Uh-oh, should have turned into that. So, yeah, it's just cool to know that there are still people out there that'll help you and are genuinely just nice people. I wish there were more people in the world like that. It would make things a lot easier, and I think society would be better for it. Right now in our country, it's sad that everybody's so divided and opinionated. Nobody wants to make the middle ground. I understand it's very very divided. There's one side and the other, and it's huge different issues. There's not really, it's either this or this. There's not really a big room for middle ground, I guess, is what people are doing. And it's sad because I know when I was a kid, we had, the two parties, and it seemed like people would meet in the middle more and kind of work out the differences. And now people are just so opinionated and they don't want to hear anything that another person has to say. And it's kind of the same on both sides, because I've seen, the one side, they don't know what they're talking about. We don't even want to hear it. And then the other side will go, they don't know what they're talking about. We don't even want to hear about it. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's never going to make progress. Society. We have to work together, even if it's something that you don't want to do. That's just what we do, like motorcycles. It's not fun wearing a helmet. You want the wind in your hair, but it's safe. And as a society, we've said in certain states you gotta wear a helmet. And I personally was in a motorcycle accident. I got hit by a semi and slid down the highway at like 80 miles an hour. First thing that happened, the wind hit the trailer. The trailer moved into my lane and bumped me. I went sideways and I tried to pull back up, and it just didn't work. The bike went down, and yeah, it just didn't work. I don't know, it sucked. And it was either go too far that way and fall, or like try to counter steer enough to get the bike to come back up. And I think I counter steered so much that the tire turned too much, and the bike just was like, doosh. Anyway, at the time, normally I didn't always wear a helmet. I thought, that's not cool. But it was the end of the season and it was cold, so I had a half helmet on, and I'd be dead. I'd be gone if I did not have that helmet on, because when the bike went sideways, boom, my head was the first thing I hit. And I would have been a vegetable or like a cracked egg on the side of the road, and that would have been horrible. It would have been horrible. So, you know, helmets are good. It's not something that we want to do, and it isn't fun, but it's, you know, it's something good, and you do it, and it betters people's lives, you know. So, like, that's kind of what we got to do, you know. There's some things people, you know, authority figures or whatever try to tell us what to do that are better for society, and it's good to do. But also don't blindly follow that. Like the mask thing with COVID. They're like, masks don't work, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the cloth masks probably don't work very well, but a mask will work. And like, oh, I had a full military gas mask on. I was good, you know, and I know enough myself, instead of having to blindly listen to authority figures to make my own assessment and judgment. Just like the helmet thing, you know, it sucks that you have to wear one, but I know, and I know firsthand, that it saves lives. Alright, sorry about that. I had to end it a little because I accidentally swore. So what will end up happening is somebody will tell you to duck, and you're going to be so stubborn that you're going to say no. And you're going to end up like a ball or something. You're going to be like, no, I do what I want. And the ball's going to be flying at you or something. You bam, get hit in the head, and you go, ah! That's because you're so stubborn that you didn't want to listen to somebody else say duck, and you wanted to go, I do what I want. And that's up like the end of butt. So you just got to have the ability to make informed decisions, I guess. But that's a slippery slope, because everybody thinks there's weakness. But we are not. It is really, one thing that I find scary is like you look at people, and sometimes you meet people and you're like, this person is just dumb. And the scary part is there are people out there that are way, way not as smart as that person, and they're like doing brain surgery and stuff. And it's just insane, the things that, you know, they might have been book smart, and they were able to get through surgery, you know, medical school, but in life and like street smart, they don't have the slightest idea what's going on. But it's just interesting. You gotta be well-rounded. Well-rounded. So, anyway, my morning Blab session. So it'll be really cool to see, and also thinking about how we can set up a Dodger and a little bit more coverage for the cockpit back here. And I'm kind of excited too to think about, even if we don't get the Dodger, I've always kind of been thinking about changing the Traveler from right here to here, because it's just not the best setup, like trying to go in and out of the cockpit and stuff. And I had seen online that Harkin makes a Traveler that you can put down here that would clip between, and then it can clip in and out, and that would be kind of cool. But Larry had showed me they actually have one that you can do on the cockpit top, and it'll go over. And they even have ones that you can set up to the two sides enough that you would be able to use the pop top still. So that would be cool. Because I was telling Larry, you know, we don't really need the pop top if we don't have to for the Dodger. You know, I'd rather have a Dodger than a pop top, because I only use that pop top very, very rarely, and it's most of the time when you're at anchor and we're on a ship. boat. Boats are not supposed to just sit and anchor, they're supposed to go out and sail. That's the joy and happiness of it. So we don't really need access to the pop top if we had to get rid of that. We could for the Dodger and the Traveler, but he was saying we might be able to integrate it where you would still be able to use the pop top with the Dodger and the Traveler that would kind of set up like right between the handrail and that and go over. But then I guess I'm just thinking about it. If we did that, I don't know how I would run lines back to like 2 winches here. If I was going to run the winches, the ropes for the winches, for the Traveler, and like to raise the sail and all that. So you guys are getting the first-hand kind of plan this out real-time live, and then we'll see how we end up integrating it all. Another thing that I'm trying to think of, I guess you guys can't see because it's so dark in there. Up in the V-berth up there, I don't have a 12-volt socket, and there's no way to charge a phone up there or your radio plug in or anything. So when I do the radio, I bring it up there with me when I'm sleeping, so it's right next to me, and then I leave my life jacket next to me, and then I have my phone with my AIS and all that on it that would go off if something's going to hit me, and just so I feel safe. And then the front hatch there, the wing nuts, if you loosen them all the way that you're able to pull it up off of the thing and then open it, when you shut it, the bolt swings down, and what'll happen is if you were to just push up, sorry I gotta take something on the charge body there, so my track was getting too long and I can't save anymore, so please reset. What I'll have to do is sit with all that stuff, and then those things though, if they swing down and you just have the nuts all the way loosened, what'll happen is it'll sit there, and then if you have to push up that front hatch, those things catch even if they're loose. And so what I end up doing is actually tighten them all the way and then put it up above where the thing catches so that the hatch can close all the way but not be fully tightened down, so that there's a little bit of airflow, and that helps with the condensation. And then if anything happens in the middle of the night, it's not locked, and all you would have to do is grab your life jacket and push, and you could jump up out of that front hatch in like nothing. So that's one of the things I've done for emergencies if I have to get out of the boat real quick at night. People have asked me, aren't you scared sleeping on the boat at night? Like, how would you get out if it's all locked up? And so that's how that is in the front. And then the back here, I think I showed you guys how I have my 1-inch chisel. I'm going to turn into the weight of this boat here so it's not as bad. Woo! We don't have a keel down or anything, so the weights can be a little intense. When you have the keel down, those weights don't really affect you at all. So yeah, so that's how I have the front set up, so if I have to get out real quick. And then in the back here, when I have it shut, I do a 1-inch chisel that just kind of sits in there, so that if somebody from the outside, they couldn't push that front hatch open to be able to get the boards open or get in. And but on the inside then, it's not locked or anything you would have to fiddle with. All you would have to do is reach up, grab it, pull it out, pull that hatch back, and you would be out and safe. So then you would just have to hope to not get caught up on any of them wires with your foot or anything as you're going up to the surface, or, you know, depending on the situation. It out in my head and tried to get it, you know, best setup I could where you're not like locked in the boat at night and if it started to sink, we would be screwed. Yeah, grounding is not fun. Grounding is not fun. But definitely a beautiful day today. So, motor's running okay. It doesn't seem like it's getting starved for gas like it was the other night a little bit. A couple times I was going and then it sounded like the motor was going to die. So what I ended up doing was I gave it more gas. and it sounded like it sucked it through more, you know, because there's that more vacuum with the motor, so it's trying to suck more gas, and then it would go, and then I would give it less gas after like a minute or two, and then it would be fine, and then it did it again like an hour later, 2 nights ago, when I was going to Anchor before Burlington there, and so I'm like, that's weird. It doesn't sound, you know, the engine's running fine, but it sounds like it's not getting gas, and that's weird because, you know, nothing should be messing up the fuel hoses and all that, and the fuel pump should be good. So what that left to me was the fuel filter, and what I believe is because it's so, we haven't changed it in 2 years, I believe. So or this year, this summer on last fall is when I got it. So a year ago, basically. I went through like 2 or 3 weeks last fall on Lake Mille Lacs with it. Then we went through this summer with it on Lake Mille Lacs. And then now, and it's supposed to be good for 1,000 gallons, and I haven't got that far yet. And like on Lake Mille Lacs, we didn't use gas really at all. You would just have to motor out of Terry's and then sail and then back in pretty much. A few times we had to motor around the lake, but not much, and it didn't use much gas at all. But now, being on the river and the mast down, traveling every day with the motor, we really went through way more gas. And it's also, like I was saying the other day, so a lot of these marinas, their tanks are at the end, and so we're getting like the tail bits of the tank, and I think there's a lot of sediment in them. So either that, or it was just bad gas at the time, which is also a possibility. I know I've read online that sometimes the marinas can get water in their fuel. We've been adding like ring clean in that, and that cleans your engine, but it does not treat like for ethanol. So I think what I'm going to end up doing here, when I'm either by Cape Charles or Alton, depending on, so Cape Charles has a marina, and I believe I can get into it, and I think I would stay there a couple nights, and they have a shower and all that, so I can shower, get clean, go get groceries, all that, and we'll do the mass there instead of Alton. Or Alton also has like a courtesy dock, but I can tie up to it, and then I have those people in town there that would let me go to their house and take a shower and get me around. So it's kind of just the options that we're going to do and what the river conditions are when we get down there. So but hopefully once we get the mast up, we'll be able to do a lot more sailing, or at least motor sailing, where you got the wind kind of in the motor going. But it's a river, and it's kind of a little channel, you know, like the wind only goes so many directions you can go. And a lot of the times here we've been headwinds, so, which is good because that means the wind's coming from the south and keeping us warm. But it's bad because we want tailwinds and winds coming down from the north to push us south. But with that, then also comes cold. So it's like, just gas it out. We can get the gas. I thought I'd get a little bit of a good shot for you. Big, long straightaway. We only have like 5 or 10 mile an hour winds, but because of how long it is, we actually get a little bit of wave action today. So it's a good thing I stayed in Burlington yesterday, because coming down this with the 40 mile an hour gusts could have been a little bit intense. We would have been fine, but after those couple stressful days there of being right on the side of the channel with the channel marker moving, in the middle of the night with the storm and having to move, and then running aground and all that, it was nice to just have the night tied up to a dock and relax. You didn't have to worry about your anchor moving, you didn't have to worry about checking your AIS or your radio or any of that stuff. So it's nice to just have a night off. Definitely was good. I was able to get some good sleep, replenish my energy, my spirits, more like, yeah, we got this. good. Alright, we are coming up to the train bridge in Fort Madison. And I believe there might be another train bridge down there, or a vehicle bridge farther in. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, I believe it's that tall one in the background there. Or no, that's part of the train bridge. Once we get closer, we'll get a better shot. Alright, there is the Fort Madison Railroad Bridge. Here's some trees that are in the water. We have a buoy out there especially for it. Okay, so I see what it is. It's a railroad bridge and a vehicle bridge. On top there, cars go over. You can see that truck going. So that's why it's got that second deck there, kinda. That's really cool. I had not seen one like that is both a railroad and a vehicle bridge yet. That's pretty cool. I wonder why they're not all like that, or, well, I guess to get to the vehicle part and the tracks, they have to be real close together. But, pretty cool. That must be where the old bridge came out there. Pretty cool. This one will be our closest clearance along the route. So it should be okay from what it looks like. Definitely is a close one. Good thing the water's down, or we probably would have had to call and had them open that one. Wow. That one is definitely a low clearance. See the windsock over there? We got like 10-mile-an-hour wind, 7 or 8-mile-an-hour winds. Another headwind, which is good. Like I was saying earlier, it's warm, but it's a little bit harder to push on and use up the gas, but oh well. There would be the Fort Madison Marina gas dock that they would normally have. As you can see, it's under construction. So there is no gas there. So we'll push on and we will get down to Cook and dam number 19. Being such a long and open stretch of water now, we actually got some wave action, getting a little spray. Still isn't nothing though like Mille Lacs has. Still isn't nothing compared to what Lake Mille Lacs can throw at us. Alright everybody. That barge is calling up to the bridge there in Fort Madison. While we're out here, I thought I'd show you guys this. Some sunken barges. Kind of interesting. I don't know why they're just chilling like that. I don't know if they used it to make like a breakwater so the shore doesn't break, or and they just left them there. Yeah. Let's see what barge this is. Pop up on the AIS. Once we get a little closer, I'll get the name. Oh, there we got it. Does it say Lexington? That's the Lexington. So we're gonna let it get past, and then I'll jump back out in the channel here. We'll keep heading down river. So we're almost here at Cook, and I think, I'm not positive, but the barge tow is on the inside there. I think this tows, or whatever you call them, barges, ran aground and they're trying to push it out. But I'm not positive. Alright, now we're in the spot where it's got the longest down for the wind here. Way back for once. Kinda nice. Thought I'd show you guys what it looks like. There we go, here's a good one. Good for this part of the river, not good like as in, wow, that's a crazy big wave. But for the river, it's probably the biggest one we've had so far. View. It's about 2.7 miles up here to Keokuk and the marina. And we should try to get some gas there, and then we'll get to Lock and Dam. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay in Keokuk or if I'm going to keep pushing on. It's about 3 o'clock. We definitely could keep going. I got a good night's sleep. So there's no reason we couldn't. We could try to make it down to Quincy, Illinois maybe. We'll see. Alright, here we are, Keokuk Marina. They should have a dock on the end there that's deep enough for us. They don't have a gas dock, but we can get up to town. And then down here is Lock and Dam, number 19. Pretty cool. All right, slow pan. We made it to the Keokuk Yacht Club. Just so everybody knows, the water is definitely low. It's 3.7 feet, 8. Someone told me to like 8 or 9. So if we had our swing keel down, we would have definitely not been able to make it here. Luckily we got that swing keel, 2.5. So I'm gonna lock up the boat, and I guess apparently what we do is up at the bar, and then you can fill up your gas cans there. So I'm gonna do that and see if we can fill up our other water jug. Then we'll have all 4 of them. We'll have full thing of water on board. Alright everybody, Keokuk. You go into the bar and then you give them your credit card, and then they turn on the pump and you come out and do it. So we got 10 gallons for 2 jugs, and then I filled up and topped off the internal tank there before I filled those up. So we got a full internal tank. Ooh, almost lost my napkins. And then, hold on one second. There we go. And then we got our other ones full. So we have 10 gallons in the main tank, 10 gallons there, plus the 5-gallon one and the 2.5. So we have 27.5 gallons. So we should be good to Alton, I'm pretty sure. I'm probably going to stop in Quincy just to kind of check it out and maybe top off to make sure, just in case there's nowhere downriver to get gas. So Yeah. And like I was saying, this place is shallow. If I would have had not a swing keel, we would not have made it in. 3.9, 3.8. Normally it's like 8 feet here. Ooh. And those things have an upward angle, not a downward angle. So, I also got a treat. We got a pizza here at the Kira Cook Marine. Sausage pizza. I'm not sure what brand it is. It doesn't look like it's a homemade one here. It might be. It might be. I'm not sure though. Looks like it's an oven one. Do the taste test and it is good. Actually tastes better than the Domino's we had yesterday. Domino's is just Domino's. This is something a little special. Looks like there's some clouds. Check the weather out, make sure there's no storm coming. And then we just kind of go up here and to the starboard side. Got lock and dam number 19 in about probably 20 minutes. So since we had a good night's sleep, pretty sure the weather's supposed to be pretty good. Let's check the radar. I think we're gonna push on and go as late as we can. All right, set off. YouTube Keelcock Yacht Club, and deep enough still. To get gas. So we have a barge coming back here that I'm going to kind of let pass us, and then the lock and dam is 2 miles up here. So we'll let them go through. So we'll probably have to anchor and wait, and then after that, hopefully we can get through. Here's the Susan Gundalak. We're going to wait for her to pass here, and then we'll head on out. Is the plane. We'll probably have to wait for her to get through the lock and dam. Hopefully that won't take too long, and then we can get through ourselves and head on down to Quincy. Alright, we have the Susan Gundalak up here locking through. On the radio, they were saying the lock guy was saying I might be able to lock through with the barge because he only has 2 and it's not very long. But it has flammable cargo and there's a chance of an explosion. So we would have to make sure we extinguished all flames and we had no possibility of a spark. We do not have a spark arrestor, I do not believe, on the wet exhaust. I know it's a wet exhaust, but I don't want to chance anything and end up being a big fireball. That would be horrible. So we're going to wait out here. He said it shouldn't take more than a half hour. And then as soon as the Susan Gundalak is done, we'll get through. So I believe it takes about 15 minutes for the lock to drop, and then he's got to fill it back up for me. So that's the plan. Get a really good shot of the power plant here though. So that's kind of cool while we're just hanging out here. Shut the motor off and we're just chilling with the train and the dam. It's kind of cool because of the way this power plant is. There really isn't a current up here in the lock part, so I just shut the motor off and we're chilling, waiting our 15 minutes to get into the lock. Oh, in the lock and dam number 19. Shot of it for you guys. Well, now this was a fun lock. This one we dropped 38 feet and it had a floating bit. So this thing you hook up to instead of the 2 lines, and it drops as we drop. was coming in, I'm like, I need 2, like I normally do with the 2 lines, and the guy looked at me like, how are you going to take 2? And I'm like, what do you mean? And what he meant was, because how the hell are you going to grab 2 of these? Because they're very spaced out. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of dark, but that was pretty cool. Are you ready to head on out? That one is really, really cool. That was 38 feet. It's the second biggest drop, I believe. The first one is Lock and Dam number 2. Is it Quincy? I think that's the next one. Huh? I can? Alright. Alright, thank you. Have a good night. So, we're going to make it to Quincy tonight, hopefully. So he said go ahead and head on down because they're opening the door. He'll blow the whistle in a second here. Head on out. I feel like we're like a big animal in a cage, like King Kong or something, with how big this one is. But that was fun. There you can kind of see those yellow floating things instead of the lines. I guess to throw your line that far would be a little bit of a pain in the butt. So, should be able to hear the whistle here any moment. Not gonna blow the whistle. So we push on. I'm gonna hopefully make it to Quincy tonight. That's the plan. Alright everybody, that'll be a night. We didn't make it to Quincy. We're like 15 miles from there. Or 16 or 17. Lock and Dam number 2, I believe. Or no, I think we're about 24 miles. Sorry, 24 miles from Quincy. Lock and Dam number 20 is 13 miles from where we're at, I believe. Been a long day. Anyway, that'll end today's video. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning.